See It Played, Death Ride, Halfaya Pass. This is a game that I like to think of as a project game. And by that I mean, and that's a good thing, by that I mean you enjoy taking the time to discover and learn the nuances of the game and all of the details. It feels like there's always more, both to play and to learn. So that's a good thing. Now, having said that, if you're going to get into the system, which I still think, this is certainly one of my favorite game systems for this scale and scope. Don't really have a number one anymore. I probably have top three for this scale and scope, and this is one of them. So to make that clear. But if you're going to get into the system and thinking of it as like a project game or project system, probably be a good idea to keep a little note sheet of things just to remind yourself. Now this is not, I'm not talking about like anything like errata or anything, and the reason for that is that the game system is, as far as I can tell, not being any type of war game expert or veteran, but it seems to be the rules are updated regularly. Not regularly, but the rules have been updated to incorporate changes. There is good errata out there. The game is the system is well supported on Concept World forums, for example. So when I say keeping a note, I'm talking about keeping a note sheet for little reminders of things that maybe you have trouble keeping in your head or keeping straight. I know I could. I've not done that, and I was thinking recently I could probably help myself by doing that. So some of that's going to come out in some notes here. Just an incredible system. I am not really a fan of desert warfare, North African theater at all, but this is still a great little tactical action here. So let's take a look at some things first. So using the information markers that I took from, I think, DRK Totenkopf, which I'm using here, when I'm done with this formation, that's basically what it looks like. Now, you do not have to, you can do all of the actions of the operations phase in any order you want. You can track however you want. But I'm using something I think that was suggested in the DRK rules to go by blue banded headquarters. So here's the blue banded headquarters. In this case, it's the Halfaya group regimental headquarters there. So this is the blue banded headquarters I'm referring to. I'm sorry, I take that back. Huh. How many blue banded headquarters? Oh yeah. No, that's right. That's right. I was looking over on the order of battle chart for the Germans. No, should be looking for the British Army. Okay, so here's the blue banded headquarters. And using the order of battle chart, this is, that 2 QOCH, whatever that is. Queen Zone something. So when I'm all done with this group over here, then I'm gonna remove all these information marker. Well, I guess I'll wait for just a minute, but I'm gonna remove them all, and then I'll move to the other Blue Bandit headquarters. What was that one? The 11th Brigade. Looks like I'm reading from across the table here. Okay, but this is what it looks like, and then I reuse all these information markers for the next Blue Bandit headquarters. That's one way to do it. Again, that is not a rule. I think that was a suggestion in the DRK rules, and so that's that. I do think by what I'm going on here with the ground attack, the air ground attack mechanic, the way I'm going to figure it out, the rules are kind of sparse in Halfaya Pass here, but starting at the top, there's basically fire support. Fire support is artillery and air, and then underneath air, the primary thing is adding to attacks and defenses as CAS, basically close air support, and there are rules for that. And then under that, so to speak, is the ground attack mechanic. So I'm using, to kind of nest the rules like that, I'm trying to interpret the higher echelon rules for how to do this. So that's how I'm working it. So what that means is I'm putting the air support marker on the hex and conducting the ground attack using the table. That much is straight. But then I'm going to leave it there for the whole phase. Because one thing is clear, these are not meant to represent like single strikes or a single strafing run or something like that. These are 2-hour turns. These are I look at these as representing an entire mission over time, and so they're not necessarily hovering over that exact hex for 2 hours. Of course, impossible. But again, it's the focus of a mission. And so I do believe that if another British Army unit moved into I guess that's the question. So if another British Army unit moved into the hex, would they then be attacked? Would that unit then be attacked under the on the ground attack table? That's not clear in my head. But again, well, let me look at one thing. Yes, this is exactly what I meant by nesting the rules. So if the close air support, it clearly states that for close air support, the marker is going to support and be in effect for all attacks and defenses in that hex for the entire phase. So using that concept, I'm going to use that same concept for the ground attack mission. Although, again, I don't remember seeing that spelled out, but that's why I'm going to do it that way. And yeah, that'll just stay on there. They caused suppression 2. It's basically just slowing them up a bit. It's not significant, but it's also not unrealistic. So over here, this is a reminder to me. So some reading online reminded me that, for example, all of these units that moved up here, they're marked as moved half. Each unit stack is going to move separately and be marked moved half. Afterwards, if, for example, there was a German target here, you could then have them all combine their fire at a target with the fire after movement penalty. Again, just a reminder, sometimes, I mean, it's so simple and straightforward, and yet it's also runs against the grain, at least for me, in small unit tactical, lower tactical games like this, kind of runs against the grain. But this is a reminder that they have no target in this case, but remember to take advantage of that. That one way to look at it is when a marker goes on, it's not done. It's really not done, so to speak. When is it really done? It's not, doesn't seem to be important to the overall design that units are done, I guess is one way to put it. So it's a way to constantly look for opportunities, I guess is another way to look at it. So this was a reminder that for fire support under artillery, it's really artillery and mortars. So even though the Germans have 3 off-board, off-map artillery batteries, they also have mortars interspersed here. And they have mortars and, well, at the very least they have mortars, something just to remember and to not. So the idea is that mortar unit and this mortar unit, I mean, they could have been firing at advancing British as well. Oh, wait. Yeah, so this is actually the next point. This is something to note for yourself because it is not obvious. It kind of comes out in experience. So this is very important. Well, I think it's very important to distinguish these units. Try to remember how I have my forces set. These are quite different units, or they're distinct. So for example, you have, this is a mortar unit, and it's also a plus unit as well. This is a heavy weapons unit. It's a starred unit. I call it a starred unit, asterisk unit, whatever. I'll just go starred. It's a starred unit. And this one is, this is exactly why you want to keep notes. I messed it up again. This is definitely not, it's not obvious, but it makes sense when you work it all out. So when you work it out one time, you really should make a note so that when you come back to the game after a number of months or even a year or two, you don't have to relearn it again. Okay, this is a mortar unit. This is a heavy weapons unit, but direct fire. This is also a heavy weapons unit, but it also has mortars. So this one should follow. Okay. This one follows the heavy weapons rules. And there's one key one that we'll get to when we get to some assaults, close assaults. This one, now how do you treat it? Because I think artillery and mortars, when artillery and mortars fire, they should be marked fire complete. But they're also, or is that meant to, no? So you might say, okay, maybe that's just heavy mortars, but actually that symbol is in the rules. That specific that specific graphic says German heavy weapons, machine guns, and 81mm mortars. Okay. So maybe okay. Yeah, this isn't clear. This is a heavy weapons unit. How do you put it? This is a heavy weapons unit. No, there are two separate lines on the firepower table. There's no, I take that back. There isn't. There's starred units are heavy weapons units, period. So that means that would suggest that for rules purposes, these units are identical. So maybe what's throwing me off is that it has a different NATO symbol, which may be historically accurate. Maybe don't actually. Germans wouldn't be using NATO symbols at all, would they, during World War II? So scratch that. Rules purposes, are they the same? Heavy weapons. No, because the spirit of the game and the design and the rules is that the NATO symbols may indicate actual rules differentiations. So no, that has an artillery symbol on it. This is artillery, and that's artillery, but they're not the same kind of artillery. Okay. So maybe a simple well, that is really unclear. These are both heavy weapons. So maybe it's, again, back to what I said originally. Heavy weapons direct fire, heavy weapons indirect fire. Okay, so maybe this... No. You know what? I don't know. And I don't even remember this coming up on Consim World forums.